Hello guys, welcome back, and this is Big Sports Africa. Welcome to our weekly show, and today we have our guest and one of our own. Let them introduce themselves and tell us who they are. Welcome so much. Tuanze pale, OCS.
Kwa majina naitwa OCS, a die-hard fan Chelsea FC. Na nashukuru sana kwa kunikaribisha.
Next.
My name is Super Prince. A super fan of Chelsea Football Club. The only Super Prince.
And today I'm your host, official Mesh 7. So let's get going and now talk about football. Now, here we start. We're having now 3 teams that are so far. We are match week 7, and we have teams that we can see maybe they are title contenders. So there's a 4th team that I don't know. Maybe Aston Villa, maybe Chelsea. But currently, the teams that have been are competing for the title for the last 3 seasons: Arsenal, Manchester City, and Liverpool. They played yesterday, and we also what happened. They all won. Now I want us to talk about something. Let's start with Liverpool. So how good is Liverpool so far, OCS?
Okay, Liverpool. Naweza sema kwamba they are struggling. Kwa sababu last time wamepigwa na Nottingham Forest, na yesterday game wameng'ang'ana kabisa wakapata 1 goal. So inaonyesha kwamba hawafungi sana na hawafungwi. So unaona kwamba ni ile kustruggle. Wakipata timu ambayo imechangamka kidogo, wanaweza pigwa.
And so far ukiangalia saa hii after the international break, now season ya Liverpool ndio inaanza. They have a run of I think almost 7 matches. Pale wako na Chelsea, pale wako na Arsenal, wako na Aston Villa, wako na Brighton. They have very hard matches. Super Prince. So far unaonaje hii Liverpool?
Okay, for me Liverpool imeanza season vizuri.
Ama ni inaitagwa new manager honeymoon.
Yes, amekuwa na honeymoon kadhaa, but one thing I love about that manager is ameleta transformation in that team. Ukiangalia player kama Ryan Gravenberch, huyu jamaa ndo anabeba Liverpool sahi, because for me I believe game uchezwa midfield. When you have a good midfield, you win a game. If your midfield is poor, you don't. Now that is one thing he has done, and he has transformed players into the shape they were supposed to be, unlike when they were with Klopp. Ukiangalia player kama Salah, in as much as contribution yake inakaa like si mingi, but si yeye anakuwa relied on kubeba
so
team
much, yeah.
Such that kila player ako na contribution yake. Kile ukiangalia Diaz ameenda on another different level. But as OCS amesema, their tough matches now are coming because wako na run of a couple of games zenye sasa zita determine what is Liverpool able to do. And then I think pia Liverpool has a good starting 11 just like Arsenal, but their backup team is not so much reliable. When you look at players kwa wings, they don't have good backup apart from maybe Chiesa. They don't have a good backup for the other wing. And then Gakpo anaweza cheza hapo, but now the problem is this coach is not trusting some players in the midfield. Kuna mtoto anaitwa Harvey Elliott. Elliott is a good midfielder, but he's not being given playtime. So for me, I feel like he should incorporate these players into the team one by one, so that when games are now very intense, you can have a couple of players you can change in the team. Just like there are some coaches who are doing that, and it's already working. So Liverpool are good, but for me I feel like their test is now coming. Easy game wako nazo hapa mbele, Premier League, Champions League wako na Bayer Leverkusen. I believe it will now tell us how stable they are. But so far I'm loving Arne Slot game.
So there's something that has been happening in Manchester City, and they've been able to control that. It happened against Arsenal yesterday, and they were able to control that, and it has not happened to Liverpool. So a couple of times Man City have gone behind and been able to come back and win that match. The same thing happened against Arsenal yesterday, and Arsenal conceded in the second half. If it was 2022-2023, Arsenal could have maybe draw that match or lost that match. So now, is it something that you're waiting to see if Liverpool goes behind, maybe in the first half, maybe in the second half? So are they able to come back and win that match? Do you see that mentality in Liverpool right now?
Okay. Before maybe they go behind, Liverpool, we have to acknowledge that they have the best defense, among the best defense in the Premier League.
Yeah, underline among, not the best.
Yeah, among, because we have other best defenders, individually and collectively as a team. Now, when you look at Arnold, Robertson, Van Dijk, and then Konate, and then they have another kid called Bradley.
Yeah, sure.
That kid is a big talent. So before you consider against Liverpool, Gravenberch plays more of a defensive midfielder. Coach wa Liverpool ako na idea mzuri such that anachezanga na kitu kama double pivot ya midfielders, but in real sense it is open whereby McAllister anacheza na Gravenberch. Ukiwafinya sana wote wanaweza rudi ku defend. Uki open game, Gravenberch ana transit midfield vile anataka. So that has given them that ability of not conceding so much. But we saw with Nottingham Forest, they conceded and wakashindwa kurudi kwa game.
But so, now they conceded very late.
Yeah.
So
but
we can give a
benefit of doubt.
Yeah.
But all over the season or all over the games they've played already, I don't think if there's a game they have conceded and then came back, because they have been clinical with how they play. So, I think the one that shocked them, and I was watching that game, was AC Milan. Pulisic scored on the 3rd minute, and then now they were to calm down to balance the game. But AC Milan was very clever to handle their attackers well. They forgot to handle the defenders because now they are the one who killed the game.
So now, yes. So is it something that you're waiting? Ni kitu nangoja kuona ile siku Liverpool maybe ita go a goal down. Utaona, is it something you're waiting to see venye wata react, venye wataanza tena ku build up again and win that match? Because it's something that they've not done in the Premier League.
Okay, hatujaona wakiconcede mapema ndio waweze kufanya comeback. But unaona kwamba this season Sara amekuwa chini kidogo. Na mara mingi Sara ndio anafanya hizo vitu za comeback. Unapata Sara amengangana ndio amefunga, wamepata win. But saa hii Sara ako chini. Kidogo Diaz ndiye ameamka kwa hiyo forward yao. Diaz ndiye ako kidogo anaweza fanya kitu. Okay, kama game ya jana kidogo Diaz alikuwa bench. Naona amekuja baadaye, amengangana. Diaz angeanza ile game jana, hata Liverpool wangeshinda na mabao mingi sana. So kwa hii comeback tunatarajia tu kuona Liverpool. Hapa ndio test inaanza. Na test ya Liverpool inaanza after international break. Wako na Chelsea, wako na Arsenal, wako na Brighton,
wako na Bayern Leverkusen,
wako na Brighton
anacheza mara mbili.
Twice. Yes. Ikifuatana tu next game
Wednesday na Sunday.
Yeah. So hapo ndio tunataka kuangalia Liverpool. Wako aje hii msimu? Wanasimama aje? Wakiface opponent ambaye anakaa hivi watafanya aje?
And then so far, who is the most important player in Liverpool?
For me, that is one thing that this coach is handling very well. I personally believe teams hazifai zikuwe na player mwenye mnasema bila huyu hatutashinda game. Na hiyo ndo itakill some teams nisingilie watu sana. But with Liverpool, he's offloading vile wewe anasema Salah amekuwa chini. The team is trying to offload that burden ya Salah na bebanga Liverpool to distribute it into the whole team. When you look at the goals they've scored, Salah amekuwa na contribution ya goals kidogo tu, but they are still scoring. That tells you the burden is now spread across the team. And that is each team in the Premier League, they should do that. That's why teams are struggling. For example, Man City, they're struggling because they're missing KDB and Rodri. Yeah. That is to tell you, those are the key players in that team. Also, when you look at other teams, they have key players, yes, but the coaches are trying to pull off this burden of huyu ndo anabeba team bila yeye hatuwezi shinda.
So for me, I was looking at a certain perspective. Ukiangalia team kama Manchester City, since KDB na Rodri wende injury, they've been struggling.
Yes.
Wamecheza na Newcastle wakadraw, and yesterday against Fulham they almost ilibaki tu kidogo wa draw hata kuchapwa. So this shows, and Haaland stopped scoring
because the supply is not there.
Because now the assist king is not there.
Not there.
So now, and then when we go to Arsenal, you see the time Martin Odegaard got injured, we stopped playing our football. We started now playing like we are defending so much, and then there's not that transition because Martin Odegaard helps the transition, carrying the ball from our final third to the other final third of the opponent. Now you see, when you go to Manchester City, KDB is very important. Rodri is very important. Yes. When you come to Arsenal, when Odegaard is out, Arsenal stops playing their football. And now we come to Liverpool. Do you have any player who goes out injured? Liverpool might struggle the way Arsenal and Man City is struggling.
For now, I can only pick out Gravenberch. If that guy misses in that midfield ya Liverpool, watakuwa na blanda. Endo is not clinical for me. Endo is a good player, but he anakuanga na option mbili. Ukimtoka either wewe uende boli baki, ama ball wewe ubaki ball iende, na hiyo ni kiatu. So Endo can control the game which they have possession. But pressure, ukiangalia, like, let me use an example of Chelsea. Chelsea are inverting a midfielder, a defender into the midfield. So when you're playing them, they'll have an extra man in the midfield whom you don't have control over. So when they come in such, kama when ni midfielder mwenye unacheza man to man, utashindwa ushike nani uache nani. Na they are playing a lot of triangles and wide balls. So that makes it impossible to control. And that Endo cannot do that. Gravenberch can do that. So if they miss Gravenberch in that team, I feel like they'll struggle.
So now, I think now this brings down the difference, yeah? The difference between the Onslaught and the Jurgen Klopp. Because we saw, during the Jurgen Klopp's era, last season, his favorite number 6 player was Wataru Endo.
Yeah.
Gravenberch was not lethal as he is right now.
Yes.
Because I remember the advocate saying, Gravenberch is costing us a lot of matches, and
I
he's
remember
doing
that statement.
Yeah. Yes. He's losing balls. He's doing this, and now comes new season with a new manager. Gravenberch is now the Liverpool, the face of Liverpool. Yes. Because you just said when Gravenberch gets injured, Liverpool might struggle. Because when you look at the bench, the only number 6 we have is Wataru Endo.
Yes.
And now, just as you said, they don't have that much depth, just as Arsenal. They don't have that depth. Like you can say now, if Gravenberch misses a match, we can replace him with someone who is close, maybe close better to Gravenberch. Yes. Yeah. So do you see now the difference? What is the philosophy difference? The philosophy difference between Jurgen Klopp and the Onslaught when you look at Gravenberch? Because last season Gravenberch Aqua play ule mwenye tunaona sahi, and now Gravenberch, Onslaught comes in. Gravenberch is one of the best holding midfielders in the top 6.
Okay, every manager has a style of play. Na Onslaught amemwangalia akamuona nani Gravenberch anaweza ingiana na ule mchezo wake ambao ako nao. So Klopp alikuwa anamtumia Wataru Endo, na lakini kidogo hakuwa mzuri. Saa hii coach anaanzanga kuangalia mtu kuanzia pale training na anapick. Saa hii huwezi sema ati kwamba mtu ni mzuri anaenda kama Saka ni mzuri mpaka aanze. Hapana. Pale training unamwangalia mtu kwanza. Mchezaji akiwa mzuri kuanzia training, pre-season nayo ilifanywa, alionekana kwamba anaweza akafanya. So that's why unaona Ancelotti anamtumia sana Gravenberch. Na Gravenberch ameonyesha. Unajua ukishapewa game kama wewe ni player na unajua kuna mtu ambaye anaweza akakutoa uweke bench mpaka uonyeshe. Na amemuonyesha. Na hiyo itafanya hata Wataru Endo akule hiyo bench kwa sababu Gravenberch saa hii hiyo midfield ameishika vizuri. Na kwa sasa kidogo mimi naona kwamba Gravenberch hiyo namba ashachukua.
So now let's now get into Manchester City, the Premier League defending champions. So when you look at after Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne got injured, number 1, Haaland got lost. He's nowhere to be seen. No scoring, no nothing, no assist, no nothing. Just running up and down like a headless chicken. Again, when you look at Rodri, Man City transition is becoming a challenge. Because Rodri is a very good player. He helps in transition, recovering balls and all that. So when you look at the kind of goals that they got scored against yesterday, if Rodri was in that match, maybe they could have got a clean sheet. Because Rodri is one of the most important players, and he makes the players around him play their best football. Now, we are seeing Kovacic scored 2 goals yesterday. Credit to him. We're having some other midfielders. Yeah? So
Doku
now
also scored. Doku.
Kovacic scored 2 goals and Doku scored 1. Now, when you look at now the current setup of Manchester City, and by the time we are going into January transfer window, so do you think they'll have a tough time in between now and January? But we all know Pep Guardiola is more of a genius. He might find solution in between the season, but we can't underrate how important Rodri is to that team.
Sasa, mimi siwezi advise Pep Guardiola. Lakini one thing I know is they'll struggle. Why? They'll struggle because there is another player, just like we've said, Klopp didn't trust Gravenberch, but Slot has given him that time. It's the same. Man City wako na player anaitwa Matthias Nunes. That guy, we saw what he can do when he was at Wolverhampton. In fact, he was a little midfielder mwenye anaweza kupigia defensive role na kuja apige attacks, just like Rodri. One thing is Guardiola haja trust Matthias Nunes. And if you pair Matthias Nunes and Kovacic, because tunajua Kovacic ni ball carrier, yeye anataka umpe ball apeleke. Now that is what now Haaland requires. But now the problem is huyu Kovacic apeleki ball kwa sababu anajua nikienda huku nyuma kuko open. So tukipigwa counter ni hivyo. I love the way he has trusted Rico Lewis, but that trust also he has to bring it to Nunes. Apart from that, or without that, they'll struggle because I'm sure wakienda January transfer wanaenda kusign mtu. And it was evident. In as much as Fulham iko na very good setup, I love the way Fulham plays their game. But when you look at teams, when you want to win a Premier League, Fulham haifai kuwa timu ya kukusumbua. Hiyo ni timu unakuja unachukua 3 points without struggling. But they struggled. So if they meet teams which are very technical in terms of formations, then they'll be losing games. Haaland is not scoring. Why? The supplier, the assist master is not there. So he'll be struggling kidogo apate 1-2-3, and then until maybe KDB arudi, ama until they find a way of playing Kovacic as a little bit forward, because Kovacic anaweza supply ball sana. Yeah.
So he play as an 8.
As an 8.
A box to box.
A box to box. But now itabidi sawa trust Nunes acheze 6. Ama I can dare Rico Lewis can play 6. Only that he doesn't have the physicality to hold the pressure of the game. That's why anachezeshwanga as an inverted player. But still, he can handle that game from a 6 position. And that needs a transition whereby unamchezesha some minutes until now akwa incorporated in a game whereby he can play as a 6. But overall, until January, Manchester City watakuwa up and down.
So now, OCS, having that, by the time January inafika, we have a lot of congested matches. After the international break, unacheza Sunday, unacheza Wednesday, unacheza Saturday. Unacheza Wednesday, unacheza Saturday. So now in 2 weeks time, you'll have to play six matches. No. And now we know Pep Guardiola is a tactical genius. So we can see Guardiola inverting. You can see Rico Lewis plays, Rico Lewis inverting into the midfield. But now, with the experience that Rico Lewis has, he's not able to play Arsenal on Sunday, play Chelsea on let's talk of Inter Milan on Wednesday, and play Chelsea again on Sunday. So you'll find that in a span of 2 weeks, when you're having a run of maybe, let's call it, difficult matches, you'll find that in a run of 4 matches, you might lose 1, draw 1, and win 2. And dropping points in this kind of a season, it's very costly.
Very costly.
Now, tukienda pale kwa defense. So, which player do you look at and you say, if we push this player into the midfield, he can do a better job. Not do exactly what Rodri does, but he can try and do something. We have John Stones, we have Gvardiol, we have Akanji, we have Dias. Yes.
Okay, mara mingi tumemwona Pep akimtumia Stones, Anaweza kumtumia Stones pale katikati na itawaka. Sababu last season wakati KDB hakuwa ametumia Stones, Wakati Rodri hakuwa kidogo, Stones pia alicheza kwa hiyo namba. So Stones anaweza kuja hapo katikati. But ile shida iko ni kwamba Aaron is a natural striker. Hawezi akawasaidia kwa saa hii kwa sababu anatarajia mpira kutoka kwa hii midfield. Na kwa hii midfield hakuna mtu atapiga pasi, apea Haaland pasi. So ndio unapata kwamba kama jana, unapata kwamba midfielders ndio wanafunga, ndio wana score kuliko striker. Ako hapa anang'ang'ana hata shot on target ya pigi. Kwa sababu gani? Hizi mipira asimove, asikuji. Unapata kwamba midfielder ako na ball na badala apige pasi, anakuja tu nayo. Kama Doku aliingia tu nayo, angepiga pasi, lakini anaingia tu nayo. Kovacic naye zile dead balls alikuwa anapata ama zile balls alikuwa anapata zinarudi, anafunika na inakuwa ni bao. So hapa ndio unaona Pep amekuwa siku mingi sana akicheza na false 9. Kama unacheza na false 9 na umepata injury kama hizi, ni rahisi kuscore kuliko venye uko na striker huyu ambaye anategemea hawa ma midfielders wampigie pasi.
Kwa sababu sasa ukiangalia, if you look at now the current Manchester City, in ile season tuliona Alvarez coming in and doing much better work than Haaland, because Alvarez is ball carrier, he can score, he can do a lot of things. He can play from the wing, from either wing, and play from the midfield, he can play as a 10. So now that's when tulikuwa tunaona wakati KDB ako injured, because Guardiola knows no KDB, no Haaland. No Haaland, KDB can still play without Haaland.
Yes.
So now Haaland depends much on Kevin De Bruyne, because we have a lot of players there, very creative players, but the chemistry that Haaland has built with Kevin De Bruyne, there is no any other player that has built that chemistry with Haaland. So now that's most of the times we saw Pep Guardiola bringing in Alvarez, and now that he doesn't have a second choice striker, so and we can say Kevin De Bruyne is going for a month.
October.
So after
back October.
After the international break, he's going to come back.
Yeah.
So maybe 2 to 3 matches. And now we have also that Yoshimo ya number 6. So venye atakuja si venye aliwacha. Because KDB venye alikuwa anacheza akijua acha niende Rodri yako nyuma. So now atakuwa anacheza akijua nikienda nobody's behind me. So I have to do a lot of defensive work. And when you look at how Man City is playing right now and how they've been playing, Man City and Arsenal, every player is defensive minded at some point. So when you meet a dominant team, like when Man City meets Brighton, when Man City meets Arsenal, and when Man City now meets the current Chelsea, because Enzo Maresca now is changing now the philosophy of Chelsea. So they want to play a possession-based football. So now every player should be always on toes. Yeah. Be alert, because Madueke akishika ball, Palma kwa katikati, Neto ako huko, hiyo ball utajua imefikiaje Jackson. So now it's something that we think when KDB comes, do you think is going to have a lot of work defensively, a lot of work attacking, a lot of work controlling the midfield, because he'll be the only elite player in that midfield.
Okay, naweza sema kwamba KDB tumeona akitoka injury and what he's doing. Anaweza toka injury leo, the first game apige assist. Apige afunge ama apige assist. KDB form yake ina remain constant. Hata aende injury, arudi afanya nini, form yake imesimama. Lakini kidogo miaka nayo inakimbia. So hatutatarajia kwamba ile form alirudi nayo akitoka ile injury ya previous atakuja na hiyo form. Anaweza kuja na game yake ikue chini. Pale midfield ya Man City kuna shida. Na hii shida Guardiola ndiye alijiletea mwenyewe. Kumrelease Alvarez kuenda. Alvarez ndiye alikuwa anarudi hapo kama KDB. Alikuwa anarudi hapo na unaona Alvarez anaweza funga, he can create chances, anaweza piga pasi, he can shoot from outside the box na score. So hapa Bepu kitamuramba.
So now ukiangalia pale kwa Man City, let's talk about last season's player of the season, Phil Foden. What is happening to Phil Foden?
Okay, for me, I think one thing about Guardiola plays a system-based football. When you look at the transfers out of Manchester City, hawajapick from yenye walikuwa nayo. Yes. So this is a system-based football. And talking of before we talk of Phil Foden, I wanted to say it was a mistake Man City allowing Alvarez to go, because when you don't have Haaland, Alvarez is there. And with Alvarez, Man City could have played a very simple 4-3-3, whereby you have Kovacic, or a 4-2-3-1. Kovacic and anyone who will trust if it's Nunes minus Rodri. And then now you have Alvarez, mwenye anaweza drop akakuja as a 10, anaweza kupigia free kick. Sasa hakuna Man City mtu anaweza funga free kick, because all of them are not in form. When we talk of Phil Foden, I think Phil Foden was kind of frustrated from the Euros, because the Euros he was being forced to play out of position. Alikuwa anatumika sana kama winger. But we know him in Manchester City, he plays as a 10. Now, you cannot put Bellingham on the bench, play Foden. I don't know if that coach can do that. But Foden hasn't.
You as a coach, can you do that?
Yes. It depends on who I'm playing on the other wing. Because if at all, you know, Bellingham at the moment is also carrying a certain kind of a pressure on his shoulders. And if he doesn't deliver, it seems like your transfer yake ya kwenda Real, it was too much. Now, when you have a lot of games, especially international and at the club level, when you have a lot of games and you have such big players, you can rotate them. And that is what Gareth Southgate was not doing. Uko na Palma mwenye ako very dynamic to play all these sides. Why can't you play Palma as a winger, put Foden in between such that they can be rotating? Because we know Foden can play a little bit on the wing, but not as
more
yes,
as a 10.
More as a 10. So usimweke solid kwa 10, mweke 10, but if Palma has an opportunity to come in, we're open uende kwa wing. Mki lose ball, every person to retain his position. Then you have Saka who can play as a winger as well, but unezambia Saka tukifinywa sana drop. We know Saka was playing as a left back. So Foden at the moment his form is not yet back. And because of the system of how Guardiola plays, it will take him time because bado hajamtrust kuanza games and I feel like bado akona sijini fatigue or whatever, but he needs to be incorporated in the team because the run of the games that are coming haitakuwa rahisi.
Because when you look at when the season started, wakati season ilianza, the players who played in the Euro finals, Rodri, kulikuwa na Saka, Kyle Walker hapo. So Guardiola was very reluctant using them.
Yeah.
Because the idea was maybe give them some time to rest because these players rested for 2 weeks and then they came back to the Premier League. They came for training, pre-seasons and all that. Now they are coming back and anawapatia time. So do you think resting players kills them than playing them? Because when you look at Bukayo Saka did that. Played at the Euros and came immediately, started matches and is still doing good. But we don't know what might come very soon because Bukayo Saka has played a lot of matches in the last 2 seasons. So Bukayo Saka has been doing that consistently and he came back from Euros and he just went to another level, assisting every single match, deciding matches on himself, captaining the Arsenal squad in the Champions League against PSG. So, ukiangalia Bukayo Saka sahi, how important is that kid for Arsenal?
Okay, personally, first of all, I'll answer you this. The responsibility of a captain is doesn't mean that you have to decide matches. When you look at players, there are some players like Jude Bellingham, akiwa BVB, he was a captain at 20. When you look at this player at Liverpool, anaitwa Dominic Szoboszlai, he's I think 22 or 23. He started being a captain of their national team at 19. No, Szoboszlai is 23, I think. He started being a captain of Hungary at 19.
Because there's no one.
They have Roland Zalai, who is 28, and he's a very little striker, but he's not the captain. So for me, Saka being a captain is a responsibility because he is one of the players homegrown. So giving him that captaincy also boosts his confidence that as the team has trusted me, let me also show that.
Do you think it comes with an extra pressure?
Yeah, yes, it comes with that pressure. The pressure of captaincy on Saka is making him also perform because they also want to show that you've trusted me as a captain, I'll also deliver. But for me, looking at what Saka is doing, that is what he should be doing. It should not be like a big deal that Saka is delivering that level. We are seeing Palma he did it for us last season, the whole of the season. And people started saying he's a 1-season merchant. And he's still doing it. So that should tell you that...
So he can as well be a 2-season merchant?
2 season, 3 season, 4 season, 5 season, and forever.
It's okay.
Yeah. So Saka should be delivering that. And from Saka, I'll talk of Arsenal in general, if you allow me. The perspective of how Arteta is playing in Arsenal, he's trusting some players but also is risking. As we said on Liverpool, I'll still say the same on Arsenal. Arsenal have a very good first 11 team. They have a very poor backup team. When you look at the defense, they have very good, solid defenders. Calafiori, Timber, Saliba, and Gabriel. And I said something, for those of you who follow me on my socials, I said previously that when Calafiori is fit, drop White. People said, oh, you cannot drop White. Drop White, Calafiori to play as a left back, Timber to go on his natural number as a right back. Now you have a very good defense. You have Calafiori you can invert into the midfield. Can cover that space yenye sahi Odegaard yuko, ndo maana Arsenal in a struggle. When he covers, don't play Jorginho, or rather don't play a weak person in that number. Play Partey as a defensive midfielder. Rice can play as a box-to-box midfielder. That is one thing that Arteta hasn't realized. And with that as a box-to-box, you have a very good striker. I love the way that Arsenal have transformed Kai Havertz. He came to Arsenal with a very, very weak attitude until nakumbuka game ya Bournemouth
from Chelsea.
Yeah, from Chelsea.
Yes.
Kwani ulitaka tu mention Chelsea.
Yeah. And a very weak attitude from Chelsea.
And then I remember kuna game ya Bournemouth mlikuwa mmevaa hiyo jezi inakaa yellow ama sijini kala gani. Mpaka Odegaard aliomba Saka ape Kai Havertz at least pena afunge ndo motivate. But when you look at Kai Havertz right now, he is very lethal. When bao alifunga jana ilikuwa bao ingine, that is a striker's finish as per me. When you look at your wingers, you have very good first team wingers, but you don't have backups. Like Sai Saka kaumia kwa hiyo namba, mtaeka nani?
Sterling.
Now, you saw what Sterling did yesterday. Yes. So that tells you your backup is not so much reliable. And that is one thing that now has costed you, because ever since you lost Odegaard, creativity hapa katikati imekuwa weak. Such that now, whatever you are depending on is from the wings. All the balls you're scoring, they are from the wings. That tells you your midfield is nowhere to be found. But if you be creative enough and give this 17-year-old
Ethan Nwaneri.
Yes. Give that boy to play that number ya Odegaard. You will be enjoying the game as if Odegaard is not.
So now, I was thinking about something. Now, you are a football fan. We have Calafiori, Timber, Gabriel, and Saliba in the defense. We have Thomas Partey as a 6. We have Declan Rice as a 8. Would you throw Ethan Nwaneri as a 10? Inside and start a match? A match against maybe Bournemouth? Maybe against Southampton. So let's pay him for big matches like, let's talk of, you can't start, okay, personally, I can't start a 17-year-old kid in a big match like Manchester City, maybe Chelsea. So, but now, these matches that don't require a lot of tactics and a lot of things. So, would you start Ethan Nwaneri as a 10, having in mind that you are having one of the best defenses in the Premier League?
Okay. Huyu mtoto ambaye anaitwa mtoto ni mzuri. Nimeona game zake kama mbili. Kama sijakosea. Game ya Bolton, I think it was Bolton.
Yeah, Bolton.
Na he scored.
Na ile tu game ya Leicester venye alikuja hizo 3 minutes.
Wakati amekuja game ya Leicester, kuna game mwingine alipewa yellow akicheza akiwa hajaingia kwa na Worms. Ilikuwa ya Man City, I think.
Ilikuwa ya City. That was another kid.
Yeah. I think ni yeye alikuwa.
Miles alipa Miles.
So Miles ndo alipewa yellow card, but Ethan Nwaneri alikuja kaingia.
Yeah. Aliingia, but nilimuona. That is the first day nilimuona akijaribu kuingia kwa mchezo pale katikati. Yaani unamuona tu huyu ni player ambaye anaweza kuja kwa game na aonyeshe kitu na ni mtoto. Secondly nikamwona kwa hii game ya Bolton. Alicheza vizuri na akafunga. Kumaanisha nini? Huyu mtoto Arteta anaweza mtrust na amweke hapo. Surrounded by those defenders. Anaweza cheza vizuri.
So now let me cut you a little bit. For me, I watch football in general, and I watch even under 21 football, and I've been watching Nwaneri play with this kid you sold to Manchester United, Obi Martins. I'll give an example of Barcelona. Barcelona had a kid. I really felt bad that he got an ACL called Marc Bernal. Bernal is 17 years old, but he was playing as a defensive midfielder. 17 years. And when you look at Barcelona, the senior players are 4. It was Stegen, who is now also out. You have Kunde, you have Lewandowski and Rafinha. All these others are kids. But look at their performance. Telling me or saying that you have Calafiori, you have Timber, Saliba and Gabriel, you have Partey and Odegaard. You cannot tell me that a coach cannot risk. And that is not risking, because these are kids who has already proven.
So that's why I've said, being surrounded by those players.
Yes.
Rice, Partey and the 4 defenders.
Yes, regardless
so
of the game. It's regardless of ni Man City ama ni nani. Eka huyo mtoto hapo. Afanye vitu anafanya. Because I saw his confidence against Bolton. He's a kid who can move the ball into free areas and tight spaces completely without struggling. And that is a Martin Odegaard kind of a player who, when you have in your team as a backup, at Odegaard akiumia, you don't have any pressure. The problem is that Arteta hajamtrust compare game.
So now, when you look at the players that we had, the attacking midfielders, we had Emile Smith-Rowe, we had Fabio Vieira, and we had Ethan Nwaneri. So these two senior players were sold and we were left with Ethan Nwaneri. Do you think that was a statement that Ethan Nwaneri is ready to start matches ahead of Fabio Vieira, ahead of Emile Smith-Rowe?
Okay, for me, if Smith could have been in that team, definitely he could have been playing as a 10. Because we are seeing what he's doing at Fulham. He's very, very good player there. But for me, I feel like no coach plans injuries. And a player like Odegaard, you cannot expect him because the way he plays, ni player anajitoanga kwa zile incidences zenye zinaweza mpea injury. So I don't think if that was the initial plan of the coach or the team in general. But when an injury comes, or when you're playing as a coach, you must be having a backup of each position. And I think coming to this season, Arsenal didn't have a plan of who will be the backup of Odegaard. Because you've sold Smith, you've allowed Fabio to go on loan. So that tells you are trusting your first 11. But now, who are you trusting from the bench? If it's now that they had a plan of, this is the kid we are trusting as a backup of Odegaard, you should be trusting the players such that vile Odegaard aliumia, akuwe anampea minutes. Hii game muingize dakika 60. Next game, utoa mtu aingie half time. Next yenye unaona ni weak kidogo, anzisha. You started a 16-year-old goalkeeper against Bolton, and it was because of circumstances, not that you wanted. Yeah, that tells you that you can still trust these kids, incorporate them in the team, and they'll still perform for you.
So now, let's talk about yesterday's match. Arsenal conceded first against Southampton.
Yes.
So I want us to talk about 2 to 3 incidences. Thomas Partey and Jorginho in the same match. Kai Havertz and Jesus in the same match. So now let's start with the Havertz and Jesus. So we actually saw when Jesus was occupying the 9 spot as a target man. So do you feel like he was pushing Kai Havertz away? Because most of the times we saw Kai Havertz just playing just behind Bukayo Saka. So now it was coming out like it's like now giving balls to Bukayo Saka. Instead of that time, he should be now in the box, be the target man, and be able to score. So do you think those are some of the reasons that actually Arsenal played good football, but at the same time they struggled?
Unataka ni analyze hiyo peke yake ama the game in general?
Hiyo tu peke yake kwanza.
Okay. First of all, Jesus, I'll say this. Whatever Man City did to Jesus and Zinchenko is whatever Arsenal is doing. Transitioning slowly and allowing them leave the team. That is also what you're doing. They came to you as star people and now you're transitioning them out of the team. When you look at your play, Student wa Guardiola anabaki Student wa Guardiola. That game you started with a formation of 4-2-2-2-2, not a 4-4-2. Because you're playing Jorginho and Declan Rice, and then you are playing Sterling and Saka behind Kai Havertz and Jesus. Now, Jesus was breaking play. Sterling was getting lost. But la open game, apige cross because you have Kai Havertz and Jesus. They are all good in headers. Anakata katikati, anataka afunge mwenyewe. And that's why you saw the first half was like, uku kimbia, uku enda, uku, no balance of the game. But now, when you talk of Jesus is, I feel like Jesus is, trust yake kwa Arsenal inaenda ikiisha. Because when I'm transition out of the team. And then performance yake pia, for me, it is not giving.
So, OCS, Arsenal fans wanasema, OCS, Jesus, afai hata kuuzwa, anafaa kushikwa. Because now, because I think now the team has outgrown Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah.
Because when Jesus came, he was the star.
Yeah.
If Jesus doesn't start, Arsenal is not winning that match. And now we are coming to an age whereby even starting Jesus against Bolton, people are still feeling, no. We should start maybe an academy player instead of Jesus. So now, do you think now it's time for Jesus to move on from Arsenal Football Club?
Arsenal number 9 wanahitaji sana. Jesus, huwezi kumtegemea Jesus kwa sahi.
As a sub.
Huwezi kumtegemea. Hata hawezi kuja kwa game kama sub na badilishe game ama akupe win. Ni ngumu sana. Tunaona sana Trossard ndiye anakuja anapea Arsenal win ama anapata bao akitoka kwa bench. Jesus sasa ukimwanza game ni bara. Jesus sasa ukimleta game kama iko mbaya bado ni bara. Jesus ile namba hata anafaa kai bench. Sio kwa nini Arteta anampea game. Kwa sababu gani? Jesus sasa kiwango yake imerudi chini. Sio ule Jesus tulikuwa tunajua akiwa Man City. Sasa tuko na Jesus mwingine. Unaona hata Sichengo hivyo tu alienda hivyo na aka. Hata hakuna mtu anamuongelelea
sasa. Na huyo hata si mtu anarudi kwa hiyo defense sahi.
Na hawezi rudi kwa hiyo defense sahi. Unaona? Players walitoka Man City wakiwa sawa. Sichengo alikuja akiwa sawa. Moto. Jesus amekuja akiwa sawa. Moto. Akiingia game hivi watu wanapiga nduru. Jesus akishika ball pale J18 tunaona hii ni bao na tunahesabu. Sahi Jesus mimi naona kwamba Kai Havertz.
So unafikiria ni team imeoutgrow Jesus ama
no,
team imekuwa
ni form yake mwenyewe. Form yake mwenyewe
as a player should grow with the team.
Yes.
When the team is more competitive, you should also become more competitive.
Ongeze moto.
I feel like when you look at Jesus, the style of player Arteta vile anataka players wake wacheze, that is one thing that is pushing Jesus out. Because at this point, Arteta is now trying to introduce a game here, be a striker, be a finisher. And then Jesus ni mtu mwenye anatakanga acheze na team. Unampatanga anatoka kwa position yake ame drop into number 10
ama 8
ama 8. So unapata like Saka akiwa na ball haezi piga cross kwa sababu uko wapi? Uko kwa shimo. So hakuna mtu hapo mbele. And that is now what Kai Havertz is doing very well, because Kai Havertz anajiwanga hii ball ikikuja nafaa nikuwe hapo.
Actually acha nikupatie example la. Last season kuna ball Havertz alipata against Tottenham.
Yes.
Exactly a ball yenye Jesus alipata jana. Unakumbuka?
Yes.
So Jesus hiyo ball angekea Saka kwa space. Lakini Jesus aliamua kufanya nini? Kuenda na ball, Sterling afunguke pale ampatie mtu mwenye ako karibu na yeye.
Na wewe ndo striker mwenye unafaa. Wewe ndo target man.
Ndio unafaa upatiane ball uende. So now I think Jesus has just the team has just outgrown Jesus, and Jesus doesn't want to grow with the team.
Yeah.
So now coming back into the midfield. Jorginho and Partey, are they supposed to start one match together? Partey started as a right back yesterday.
Yes. I think yesterday Arteta was trying to experiment something that didn't work, because
it almost costed him the match.
It almost costed the match. Alianzisha nani right back Partey. I feel like he played well according to me. But the midfield, leave alone even Partey and Jorginho. Declan Rice and Jorginho, that will never work.
They don't work together.
They will never work for Arsenal unless you say Declan Rice to play as a defensive midfielder, for which he cannot do. Tunajuanga Rice anapendanga
kupanda tu.
Jorginho hawezi cheza ka defensive. Jorginho anataka umpe free roll. Mimi niko free, nipe ball, nipige pass. I remember there is a time we were playing Newcastle versus Chelsea when he was still at Chelsea. Jorginho alone played more passes compared to all Newcastle players alone. So that tells you he has the ability of passing. Even in Italy, he plays with Barella, and they all play as a free roller because they have a very good defensive mid. So Jorginho and Declan Rice, it doesn't work. And then when you look at Arteta, the way he's using this player number 19 and Trossard is like a Bernardo Silva of Manchester City. You can play him on the wing, you can bring him in the midfield, you can play both wide, you can play him as a deep lying midfielder, and then he's very dynamic. Yeye anaweza kufunga from anywhere. Yeah. So yesterday for me, Arteta was trying something and majibu alipata kwa sababu hiyo bao ilikuwa a shocker, because Southampton ingepiga Arsenal mngekuwa mnasema nini sahi? That could have been. But now what
advocate sasa angekuwa tu anacheka mahali yako.
Yes. One thing Arteta made sure after that bao me concede, of course I'll blame Southampton also, because bao yao ya kwanza ilikuwa ukumbafu yao. Mko mbele na mnajua nyinyi ndio weak team. Clear the ball, play wide balls. Why are you trying to gonga something? When you look at the way this team has been incorporated, majibu wenyewe walipata. Na hiyo inakwambia that they have a good defense. I love one player in Arsenal. Mwenye tulitaka lakini mkachukua, lakini si tukakuwa werevu tukaenda tukachukua replacement yake, Calafiori. Calafiori can play you very smart tackles, can play you very good
clean
transition.
Also.
Yes. very good transition because Calafiori akicheza na Odegaard, Arsenal will be lethal. Because yeye ni mtu anatoka kwa position yake, anapiga tackle la win ball na ilete kwa mid. And then now ukwe na rise hapo na ukwe na Odegaard mbele yake. It will be good. But one thing and one player I'm also saying that now he is being thrown out of the team is Benjamin White. Unless now arudi akwe backup because White was playing as a center back in Brighton. So unless akuja akwe backup you're
one of the center backs.
Yeah, center backs. But hiyo Timber akishashika hiyo namba, Calafiori ashike ingine, then White will be
Tomiyasu.
Tomiyasu is there. But Tomiyasu pia ana feel like.
So now we can talk of Benjamin White and Tomiyasu as backups.
As backups, yes.
Backup, yeah.
Not maybe on the right backs, on the flanks as well, the left back and right back. Because we know Timber and Calafiori, they have some kind of injury. They are somehow related to injuries kiasi. But when you have them fit, then that White will be a backup. Tomiyasu also will be a backup.
So now, OCS, kuna some football fans, they are talking about Arsenal fans. And I think they have some point. Martinelli couldn't do good when we had a fullback like Zinchenko. Because alikuwa na a lot of work defending, kurudi nyuma. But now wakati Calafiori alikuja, now we are starting to see Martinelli scoring some few goals. Yes. Anapiga some assists because anajua nyuma yangu kuna nani? Kuna mtu, so haendi sana. Hata kama anaenda kudefend, ni ile tu kukimbia, kutisha, ball inachukuliwa, yeye anajua Calafiori is coming. Now we are talking about the players that played yesterday. Arteta was trying to rotate the squad, and we saw what happened. And now we went behind. Southampton scored first, and now the players came back. Arteta did some very good substitution, and we came back to the game. So what changed that was not happening in the first half? Because I think in the first half we had a lot of chances. Sterling had a lot of chances. Jesus had a lot of chances. Havertz had a lot of chances. Bukayo Saka had a lot of chances. And now Martinelli coming in, Trossard coming in. What changed after the substitution was made?
For me, I'll tell you two things. Number one, Arsenal's whatever Arteta was trying to do yesterday, it was not working. And then for me, I'll say hiyo sasa ndo inafaa ikwambie, because a team like Southampton, you have to throw in even your second team and perform without any problem. But now that tells you some individual players' performance is not matching whatever the first team is doing. Like the mistakes from Raheem Sterling, he's not playing so much with the Arsenal that we know, because I know Arsenal as a team which is more collective. Their play is not individualized and in as much. Hao ni watu wenye let pass, pea huyu tufunge. Sio mimi nichukue ball ni run unless it's a counter attack. Number two is the substitution that came in. I'll not say they were good substitutions, because now you're removing your second team, you're introducing your first team. So you're just bringing in a team that normally plays. And of course now with that, you expect a top performance. And that is what you did. In as much as hizo mistakes zilikuwa mingi za Southampton, mkawanyang'anya ball kwa tikitaka zao, mkafunga. Bao ya pili, it was kinda also very slippery. And then bao ya tatu pia ilikuwa defensive mistake, because your ball ilikuwa cleared itoke hapo, but they didn't. And that is now what tells you how a good team is. You should capitalize on your opponent's mistakes to score goals. And that is what they did. But I'll insist on something. The second team ya Arsenal is not reliable as the second team ya Chelsea. Do you argue?
Okay, now we are talking about second team ya Arsenal is not reliable as much as second team ya Chelsea. OCS. Yes. So about your game ya Southampton and Arsenal. So tuliona the second goal that Martinelli scored, kuna ile ilikuwa inapimwa offside.
Yeah, it's offside.
So now there's some people saying because the person who was offside, it was Merino. Merino tried to attack the ball. Although hakupata ball. But ilienda direct kwa Martinelli. So should it have been offside because Merino attacked the ball?
Okay, there is a difference between attacking the ball and getting the ball. And then sometimes it's all about blocking the goalkeeper and you're not targeting the ball. That is also the always chop of the goal. But for me, the that was not an offside because Merino didn't aim the ball as much. And I think mulitufunga bao same tukidraw na nyinyi last season 2-2 whereby Trossard scored the same kind of a goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Across came and he was wide na Gusto akamsahau na akatupiga bao. What is your view on that?
Okay, hii offside inaweza kosa kupimu kwa sababu unaangalia player hajaenda hiyo ball.
Yeah.
Hajaenda hiyo ball. Na hiyo ball ichapigwa vile Prince amesema, hiyo ball ichapigwa obstruct goalkeeper ama amsuie. Unaona? Hiyo ball imepigwa, alikuwa na intention ya kuendea ball na ameiacha. Na mtu mwenye ako onside amechukua hiyo ball. Unaona?
Hiyo mimi naweza ita distraction. Unajua as a midfielder, haufai upay defender time easy ya kudefend mtu anaweza kufungia bao.
Now as a referee, there's some referees who could have given an offside to that.
Huyo naye ni refa mwenye ako biased basi. Because ukiangalia line vile walichora kuna mtu alikuwa huko juu.
Alikuwa
Merino alikuwa offside, yes, but
ball imeenda wapi?
Ball imeenda kwa Martinelli.
Martinelli was not offside.
Was not offside. Alikuwa onside.
So and now there are some pundits and some referees that are arguing that as long as this player blocked a defender from reaching the ball, maybe this defender, if the defender was free, could have cleared the ball.
Now, why do you want free and we are competing for the same ball? Do you want me to create a space for you where when
but you're offside?
Now, the point is not me blocking you. The point is...
So, Merino blocked a defender in an offside position.
Now, this, whatever you're talking of offside position, blocking someone, before ujipate kwa hiyo offside position, tuko in motion. Si kila mtu anakimbilia the same ball.
So, I'm obstructing you with an intention to attack the ball.
Now, but now I think that is a top... mental ability ya Merino to know that there is someone behind me mwenye nikimpea a little opportunity anatufungia bao. Let me obstruct here because maybe one thing I know is the only obstruction that denies goals is obstruct goalkeeper. Kama sio obstruct goalkeeper, we are all fighting for the same.
And that is the reason, one of the reasons that goal took almost a minute.
Yeah.
VR deciding. So do we give an offside to Merino or do we give an offside to Martinelli?
Okay.
So at the end of the day, they decided, okay, now let this pass. Let's draw a line to Martinelli. Yes. It's a goal, and let's get going.
Yeah.
Now we are going into now international break, and some of the players have been called. Now, players been called into the international break, and coming after the international break, we're having a run of almost all the way to, I think...
A crazy run
all the way to December. December.
Because there will be no any other international break, I think, until next.
Until January after first.
Yeah.
So it's been a good discussion with Super Prince and OCS here. I'm your host, Official May 7. So tell us on the comment section, which team do you think had and has been having a run of good matches so far since the Premier League started? And do you think so far Bukayo Saka is the best winger and the best player in the Premier League? Tell us on the comment section and see you next time. This is Big Sports Africa. Check us out on our social media platforms at Big Sports Africa on YouTube. Turn on the notification bell and make sure you subscribe. Thank you so much.